Welcome back to Polymer Clay TV, and today I wanted to share with you how to use these lattice lace molds that we have in the shop at polymerclaytv.com. And you're going to need some clay that is well conditioned, and I'm using the Primo brand today because that's my favorite brand to work with, but you can use any brand. You can try Sculpey. Sculpey is sticky, so it actually might be okay for this project. But, you know, play around with different brands if one doesn't work for you, and see what you like best to work with it. Now, these molds are they're not very deep, okay? I don't know if you can see that on camera. Oh, look, a cat hair. My cat has to get into everything. Anyways, they're not real deep. They're not like your typical molds where you put your clay in and pull it out and you have that image. This is a different way to stamp and mold, and because it's so shallow, you can do some really neat effects with it. And this is actually something I made where I took a flat sheet of clay for my background, which is the pink, and then I molded the lattice lace with black and applied it to the pink, and you can see it through all the different holes and stuff. So it's a really, really neat effect, and you could actually use little cabochons if you wanted and put them in here, or you could put a crystal in there. You can decorate it up any way you want, but I'm just going to show you the technique, and then we're going to make this little bottle I had laying around. Cute little bottle. I think I got it at TJ Maxx. And when you're working with a glass bottle, some of them have this plastic doohickey thing. You want to take that off. You don't want to bake that because there's a chance, although this is silicone, I think it'll bake fine, but I don't know to what degree it's going to bake, so I'd rather just remove it before baking. Everything else can go in the oven. It's metal and glass, not a problem. So this is just a little jar, like I said, I found, and they came in like a set of 3 or 4 with different colors of these bands, and I want to say I maybe paid $3 or $4 for all of them. So look at places like TJ Maxx and Ross and discount stores, and you might be surprised what you find. So I'm going to set this aside right now because we're not going to need it just yet. And I have a round cookie cutter, and what I did was I found one that I thought was perfect for the top. So that's what you want. And you can do the bottles in any shape and size you want. It's you know, it's totally up to you. Or it can be a bigger jar, a bigger bottle, whatever you want. And this here is just a conditioned piece of black clay, and I think I went through number 2, which is the second thickest setting on my pasta machine because I didn't want it to be too thick. And it's just rolled out to a flat sheet, and we'll use that as our backing piece like we did with the pink. Instead, we're going to do black because I'm using a blue because I wanted to go with this. So I will put this back on after it's been fired, but before firing, I'm taking it off. So you get the gist of it. All right, so what I did was I filled in the mold, and here's a rod, and of course you're going to need a blade to shave off extra, which I'll be showing you. And that's pretty much all the tools you'll need for this. It's pretty easy. Just the cookie cutter, the blade, and your rod. Your fingers and your hands are going to be doing most of the work with this project. So let me set this aside. You want a sharp blade. It doesn't have to be brand new. That might do a little more damage to your mold because I tend to cut my mold. You know, it just depends on you. You use whatever works best for you. Now, the important thing for this project is that your clay is well conditioned, okay? Because you don't want a hard clay, it's not going to work. And you just want to tear off little pieces of the clay once you have it conditioned. And I like to kind of form it into a little ball, or not like an exact ball, but something like this. And then what I do is I use my fingers to push it into the mold. Now you could certainly stamp on the clay with this mold. That's why we call them mold and stamp, because you can use it both ways. You can use it as a mold like I'm showing you, or you can use it to stamp into the clay. But today we're just going to do this technique. So you can use your rod at this point, but you want to make sure that you hold the clay down because it can pop up on you, and you know, you don't want that to happen. So once you have it into the mold or partially in the mold, you want to shave off the extra. And just use caution when you're doing this. You know, you don't want to cut yourself, and you don't want to cut the mold if you can help it. Now I filled in most of this area right here, and I have enough. You don't have to fill out the whole mold like I've done here, but I just wanted to show you. That's why I did it. And it can be time consuming. I'm going to warn you. It can take a little time because sometimes the mold doesn't want to grab a hold of the clay, especially it depends on your temperature. You know, it seems to work when the clay is really conditioned well and it's soft and it just wants to kind of flow. That's the best way. So just keep shaving until you have it the way you want it. And really it's that's as simple as it is. It's a matter of pushing it into the mold and shaving off the extra. And just keep doing it over and over until you have your mold filled. But the one tip I want to tell you is do not do anything with this until you make sure that every little crevice is exactly the way you want it, because when you go ahead to mold it, it will show up. If it's missing a little spot here or a little spot there, it shows up. So make sure that you've got your mold and all the clay in there exactly the way you want it before you unmold it. So think about that before you do your project. Just like on this part over here I'm looking at is a little bit shallow. So I can take a little piece like this, use my fingers, and I'm using some pressure. And actually what I do a lot is I'll put my finger on the clay and kind of just hold it there a second to kind of get it to go into the mold. So that looks good now. That's better. So you want to make sure to get off any extra clay as well, because that'll show up as well. So just be careful and exact as you can be with it, you know. So this is the point where I'm going to bring back in my clay, my black clay that I've conditioned and rolled out to the second thickest setting on my pasta machine. And I make sure that my mold's as good as I can get it, you know, that everything's in there nicely. You could gently roll your rod across, but be careful when you're doing this because the clay could stick and you could pull it right out of the mold, and you don't want that to happen because that could be frustrating. So I'm actually going to just lay this little middle part on here. Ooh, I got it all dirty. Sorry about that, guys. Ain't pretty, but I'll clean it after. So then I'm just flipping my mold over onto my flat sheet of clay, and I'm going to give it a little roll. And what I'm trying to do now is get the mold, the clay that's in the mold, to stick to my black clay. And then I'm going to gently pull back. It's going to take out, well, let me cut it. And then I can leave the rest in the mold for another project. You can set that aside rather. How gorgeous is this? I mean, so pretty, and it really was not a lot of work. It really, really wasn't, as you saw. It's just a matter of taking the time to get it into all the crevices and get it the way you want before you try to unmold it. So there you have that. So now I'm going to go back. Let me look on top of this like this. I don't know if I'm in the screen. I hope not. But I'm going to decide where I want to cut it for my top of my jar. And I'm just going to place it there, and I'm going to use my cutter and give it a little twist so I make sure it cuts it real well. And there I have it. So now, at this point, I can pick it up with my blade. And I want to clean up any edges if the edges are, you know, have extra clay. And I'm going to close this so that it's laying flat. Okay, it's not that hard. There you go. So I got that closed, and then I just want to lay this on top, like so, until I have it centered the way I want it. And then at this point, I can decorate it any way I want. That's entirely up to you. But how cute is that? I mean, it just, and then when I get this back on here, let's see. Oops, I don't want to mess it up, but I want to give you the idea of how cute that's going to be. I mean, super cute and super easy. Just a little time consuming to get the molded piece just right. And you can pretty much make anything you want with it. This would be gorgeous as a pair of earrings. If you made if you like big dangle ones, use a big one. But if you don't, you can use a smaller cookie cutter. You can do it in any shape and see what you come up with. And I hope you have a lot of fun with this. Just a little note to tell you, we've opened up registration for polymerclayadventure.com, And it's a retreat that we're having. It's a completely virtual retreat, so anybody can participate all over the world. And we have 22 teachers that are teaching there, and it's an all-inclusive event, which means you're going to get instruction from all 22 teachers. You're going to get into any event that goes on during the retreat. We're going to have pajama parties. We're going to have live chats and demos and all kinds of fun stuff and interviews and just really fun. So if you want to join us there, you go over to polymerclayadventure.com and you can sign up there. And there's all the details on the website. And the mold is available in our shop at polymerclaytv.com. And this is called the Lattice lace mold, but we have other mold and stamps that work the same way. So you can do it like this, where you mold it, or you can stamp right onto the clay. So you have two options with one mold. So have fun with it. I'd love to see what you guys make with it. So you can add your pictures over at the community, which is also at polymerclayadventure.com, and share what you make. We'd love to see it. So we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us.